All right, let's jump into this deep dive. The Enlightenment and the French Revolution, huh? You've really gone all out with the sources this time. It looks like we've got audio lecture excerpts, handwritten notes, and even a Quizlet study guide.
Yeah, it definitely seems like you want to go beyond just the surface level here.
Absolutely. I really want to get to the why behind the what, like what were these Enlightenment thinkers really trying to achieve?
Well, it was a time of some pretty radical shifts in thinking. People were challenging traditional authority, looking for new ways to understand the world around them.
So instead of just accepting things as they were asking why.
Exactly. And not just why, but what if?
Hmm.
They were searching for these universal principles, these natural laws that can be applied to everything from science and politics to economics and even religion.
That's a huge shift. So instead of relying on, say, religious dogma or the divine right of kings, they were looking for more rational explanations.
Exactly. They believed in the power of human reason to solve problems and create a better world.
That makes sense. And that's where those ideas about natural rights, the social contract, and the separation of powers come in, right?
Exactly. Those ideas really laid the groundwork for revolutions, not just in France, but around the world.
Okay, so let's dig into some of those big thinkers. You mentioned deism in your lectures, this clockmaker god idea. What's that all about?
Well, imagine God as this master clockmaker. He creates this incredibly complex universe, sets it in motion, and then steps back to observe. No miracles, no interventions, just a universe running according to its own natural laws.
So humans are kind of on their own then?
In a way, yes. Deism really emphasized human reason and free will. The idea is that we have the capacity to understand the world through observation and logic. We're not just puppets of fate or divine will.
That's pretty radical for the time, right? I mean, challenging the idea of an interventionist god.
Absolutely. And it had huge implications for how people thought about government, too. If humans are capable of governing themselves rationally, then the old justifications for absolute monarchies start to fall apart.
It's like saying, hey, we don't need a king to rule over us. We can figure things out on our own.
Exactly. It's about individual autonomy and the idea that government should be based on the consent of the governed, not divine right or tradition.
Okay, so we've got deism shaking things up. Now, you've also highlighted John Locke as a key figure. What made his ideas so revolutionary?
Well, Locke really articulated this powerful vision of natural rights, inherent rights that everyone possesses simply by being human.
Rights to what exactly?
Life, liberty, and property.
Right.
He argued that these rights aren't granted by any government or king, they're fundamental to our existence.
So it's not about the king bestowing rights upon his subjects, but about individuals possessing these rights from birth and governments having an obligation to protect them.
Exactly. It's about flipping that traditional power dynamic on its head. Government gets its legitimacy from the people, not the other way around. And if those rights are violated, the people have a right to resist.
Wow, that's a pretty dangerous idea in a society ruled by an absolute monarch. No wonder his writings were so influential in the lead up to the French Revolution.
Absolutely. Locke's ideas gave people a philosophical framework for challenging oppression and demanding a government that served their interests.
Okay, so we've got Locke pushing for individual rights and limited government, and then there's Montesquieu with his idea of the separation of powers. Checks and balances. Was that a new concept back then?
Absolutely revolutionary, especially in a world dominated by absolute monarchies. Montesquieu argued that concentrating power in the hands of one person is a recipe for tyranny, even if that person is well-intentioned.
So how did he propose to prevent that concentration of power?
He advocated for dividing power among different branches of government, each with its own responsibilities and the ability to limit the power of the others.
You mean like a legislative branch to make laws, an executive branch to enforce them, and a judicial branch to interpret them?
Precisely. It's about creating this system of checks and balances to prevent any one branch from becoming too dominant. It's like a three-way tug of war.
So no one can just grab all the power and run off with it.
Exactly. That's the idea. It's about safeguarding individual liberty and preventing tyranny.
It's amazing how these Enlightenment ideas, which might seem abstract, had such a concrete impact on the way we think about government today.
You're right, their legacy is undeniable. These thinkers provided the intellectual ammunition for revolutions, and their ideas continue to shape debates about governance, human rights, and the relationship between the individual and the state.
It's a powerful reminder that ideas have power and that the quest for knowledge and understanding can have far-reaching consequences. Now, you also mentioned Voltaire's defense of religious tolerance in your notes. What was his argument for that?
Well, Voltaire saw firsthand the devastating consequences of religious intolerance. He witnessed persecution, conflict, and the suppression of intellectual inquiry, all in the name of religion.
So he was saying, let people practice their own religion without fear of persecution.
Exactly. He argued that a society that embraces diversity of belief is ultimately stronger and more prosperous.
It makes sense. If everyone is constantly fighting over whose religion is the right one, it's hard to get anything else done.
Precisely. Voltaire believed that true religion resided in individual conscience and moral behavior, not in blind adherence to dogma or the dictates of religious authorities.
Okay, so we've got these revolutionary ideas about reason, natural rights, the separation of powers, and religious tolerance. But how did these abstract concepts actually translate into social and political change? Your sources mention Adam Smith, the father of modern capitalism. What role did his ideas play in all of this?
Well, Adam Smith argued that individuals, when left to pursue their own self-interest, would actually create a more prosperous society. He believed in the power of the invisible hand of the market to regulate things.
The invisible hand, what does that even mean?
Basically, it's the idea that the market, through supply and demand, competition, and individual choices, can regulate prices, allocate resources, and ultimately benefit everyone.
So instead of kings or governments trying to control everything, he's saying, let people make their own economic choices.
Precisely. He argued that government intervention, through things like tariffs or price controls, often did more harm than good. He believed in free trade, competition, and individual initiative.
It's like saying, let the market figure it out. But didn't he recognize any potential downsides to that approach? What about things like exploitation or inequality?
Of course. Smith wasn't naive. He acknowledged the potential for abuses within a free market system and the need for some government regulation.
Okay, so it's not about completely abandoning all regulations, but about finding the right balance.
Exactly. It's about maximizing individual freedom while also ensuring a just and equitable society.
Wow, it's fascinating to see how all these ideas, from natural rights to free markets, interconnected and laid the groundwork for the French Revolution. But before we dive into the revolution itself, we need to understand the situation in France. You've got some notes on King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. What were they like and how did they contribute to the growing unrest?
Well, they weren't exactly the ideal monarchs to navigate a time of such profound change.
So tell me more about them. What were their strengths and weaknesses?
Louis VI, for example, was a well-meaning but indecisive ruler, more interested in hobbies than affairs of state.
Not exactly the image of a powerful, decisive king, huh?
Not quite. And then you have Marie Antoinette, known for her extravagance and perceived detachment from the struggles of ordinary people. Her Austrian heritage didn't help matters either.
So you've got an indecisive king and a queen perceived as a frivolous foreigner. Not exactly a recipe for popularity in a time of economic hardship. It's starting to sound like a powder keg ready to explode.
And explode it did. But before we get into the drama of the revolution, we need to understand the structure of French society, particularly the rigid hierarchy of the three estates. That system, with its deep inequalities and injustices, really laid the foundation for the revolution.
Okay, I'm ready for the next part of the story. We're back. It's amazing to think that those Enlightenment ideas we talked about actually had a real-world impact.
Oh, absolutely. They really set the stage for massive social and political upheaval, especially in France.
Right. You mentioned this three estates system in your notes, and it seems like a textbook example of inequality and injustice. Can you break it down for us?
Sure. So imagine French society divided into these three groups: the clergy, the nobility, and then everyone else.
Wait, so that's like a tiny percentage of the population holding all the power.
Pretty much. The first estate, the clergy, they were less than 1% of the population, but they controlled a huge amount of land and wealth, and they were exempt from most taxes.
Sounds like a sweet deal if you can get it. What about the second estate, the nobility?
Similar story. They made up about 2% of the population, and also enjoyed all sorts of privileges: land ownership, tax exemptions, you name it.
And everyone else was just stuck in the third estate.
Yep, that's where you had your peasants, your artisans, your merchants, even the rising middle class, the bourgeoisie. They paid the bulk of the taxes and had very little political power.
Okay, so we've got this massive imbalance of power and wealth, and then Louis XVI calls this meeting of the Estates General something that hadn't happened in over 175 years. What was he hoping to achieve?
Honestly, I think he was just desperate. France was in a major financial crisis. and he was hoping the Estates General would approve new taxes to bail him out.
Seems a bit naive considering how much resentment was brewing.
Yeah, he totally underestimated the situation. The Third Estate, especially the bourgeoisie, they were done being ignored.
It wanted a voice, right?
Exactly. They demanded a fairer system of representation, arguing that the traditional way of voting by estate was totally rigged against them.
I bet the king and the other estates weren't too happy about that.
Not at all. But the Third Estate wasn't backing down. They declared themselves the National Assembly and vowed to create a new constitution for France.
Wow, that's a bold move.
Oh, yeah. And this leads to that iconic moment, the tennis court oath.
Remind me about that.
So the delegates of the National Assembly, they get locked out of their meeting hall. So they just march over to a nearby tennis court and swear an oath not to disband until they've drafted a new constitution.
That's a pretty powerful image, taking a stand like that.
It was a turning point for sure. It showed that the people were no longer willing to accept the old order. They were ready for a new France, based on the principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity.
But I imagine Louis XVI didn't just step aside and say, okay, go for it.
Not quite. He tried to play both sides, offering concessions while also mobilizing troops. But things were already spiraling out of control.
And that's where the storming of the Bastille comes in, right?
Precisely. It's July 14, 1789. Rumors are flying that the king is planning to crush the assembly. People are terrified. And then, boom, a Parisian mob storms the Bastille.
So it was more than just a prison break.
Oh, absolutely. The Bastille was a symbol of royal power, of oppression. By tearing it down, the people were making a powerful statement. They were rejecting the old order and demanding a new one.
It's almost like a physical manifestation of those Enlightenment ideals we were talking about, right? Taking action, demanding change.
Exactly. The storming of the Bastille marked a turning point. It emboldened the revolutionaries and terrified the monarchy. There was no going back.
It's amazing how those abstract ideas we were discussing actually translated into real-world action.
Ideas have power, and the French people were ready to fight for their freedom. But of course, the story doesn't end there. The revolution had just begun, and as we'll see, the path ahead was full of twists and turns, moments of triumph, and sadly, moments of terror.
I'm ready to hear more. Where does the story go next?
Okay, so we've talked about the ideas behind the French Revolution, the social unrest, and the dramatic events that really kicked things off. But
About the French Revolution itself, did it ultimately succeed?
that's a question historians are still debating. It definitely didn't result in the perfect utopian society that some revolutionaries dreamed of. But it did have a lasting impact. It inspired movements for democracy and human rights all over the world.
So even though it was messy and violent, and maybe even a bit of a failure in some ways, it still changed the world.
Absolutely. It showed people that they had the power to challenge the status quo, to fight for their rights. And those ideas, they continue to resonate with us today.
That's pretty inspiring. And it just goes to show you how complex and messy history can be. It's not always a clear-cut story of good guys versus bad guys, winners and losers. It's full of contradictions and unexpected consequences.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so fascinating to study.
Yeah.
There's always more to learn, more to uncover.
Well, you've certainly given me a lot to think about. Thanks for taking us on this deep dive into the French Revolution and the Enlightenment.
It's been a pleasure. And remember, history isn't just something that happened a long time ago. It's all around us, shaping our world in ways we might not even realize. So keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep those critical thinking skills sharp. Welcome to our deep dive. We're tackling the French Revolution today. And you've given us a ton of sources. It's going to be exciting to dig into this.
Yeah, a lot of material here.
Yeah, so we really want to go beyond just the what happened, like the dates and the names. We really want to understand the why this revolution happened.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a puzzle, right? We got to put together all the different pieces, the ideas, the economy, the people involved to really see the big picture. How did the society go from normal to bam, revolution?
Yeah, totally. What were those sparks? So to start, let's set the stage. We're in France before the revolution. It's the Ancien Regime. And your sources paint this picture of a super divided society.
Yeah, it's like a pyramid, right? You've got your three estates.
Right.
The first estate, that's the clergy. The second estate, the nobility. And then everyone else is crammed into the third estate.
And from what I've seen in these sources, it's not just like a social division, right? It had some real consequences. Like the third estate, they're the ones paying most of the taxes. The first and second estates, they're pretty much living tax-free.
Right, like imagine you're working your tail off just to survive, and then a big chunk of what you earn goes straight to supporting this system that only benefits like a tiny percentage of the population. I mean, no wonder people were getting worseless.
Yeah, it's like a boiling pot, right? And to make things even more complex, you've got the Enlightenment happening at the same time. All these new ideas floating around.
Oh, absolutely. The Enlightenment's huge. These thinkers like John Locke, they're talking about natural rights, the idea that government should be based on the consent of the governed. And these ideas, they're really catching on, especially with the bourgeoisie.
The bourgeoisie, that's like the educated middle class, right?
Right. Think like skilled artisans, merchants. They're doing pretty well for themselves economically, but they have no real political power. So you can see how Locke's ideas would be appealing to them.
Yeah, totally. It's like they're looking at England with its parliament and thinking, hey, why not us? Why shouldn't we have a say in how we're governed?
Exactly. And then you've got Montesquieu. He's all about separation of powers, checks and balances, to prevent tyranny, which, is a direct challenge to the whole idea of an absolute monarchy.
Right, right. So you got these Enlightenment ideas. They're spreading in the salons, the coffee houses, and they're starting to make people question like the whole foundation of French society.
It's really amazing to see how these ideas, these discussions, could actually lead to real change.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. But we can't forget about Voltaire either. Religious tolerance, freedom of thought, huge issues in a country dominated by the Catholic Church.
Oh, yeah. Voltaire was a thorn in the side of the establishment. His ideas definitely resonated with people who were already questioning the status quo.
Yeah, so you've got this mix of stuff happening, economic hardship, social inequality, and these revolutionary ideas are just swirling around. And then right in the middle of it all, you have the royal couple, Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette.
Ah, yes, the king and queen. Your sources definitely have a lot to say about them.
One of the sources paints Louis XVI as kind of like more into his hobbies, like lock making, than actually ruling a country.
And Marie Antoinette, being Austrian, she was often seen as out of touch, extravagant, like a symbol of everything wrong with the monarchy.
It's kind of like a recipe for disaster, right? You've got this disconnect between the rulers and the people they're supposed to be ruling.
It definitely adds to the tension that's building in France at the time.
So we've got this powder keg of a situation. Economic woes, social unrest, revolutionary ideas brewing. What could possibly set it off?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Louis XVI makes a decision in 1789, a decision that would change everything. So Louis XVI, he calls this meeting of the Estates General. It's like this big representative assembly. They hadn't met in over 175 years.
Yeah, you mentioned it backfired. How did a meeting, trigger a revolution?
Well, the problem was representation. Like we talked about, the third estate, they're the majority of the population, right? But they could always be outvoted by the first and second estates combined.
Ah, so even though they got a seat at the table, the system was still stacked against them.
Exactly. And they'd had enough, so they took a stand, declared themselves the National Assembly, the true representatives of France.
Wow, that's a bold move. It's like they're saying, we're done with your rigged game. We're making our own rules now.
It was a direct challenge to the king's authority, a huge turning point. And it all kind of culminated in this dramatic moment, the tennis court oath.
Yeah, I read about that. It sounds intense, more than just a meeting, right?
Oh, usually they were locked out of their meeting hall, so they just marched over to a nearby tennis court and swore this oath. They wouldn't disband until they'd written a new constitution for France.
A tennis court, that's wild.
It's like this perfect symbol of the revolution, right? The people taking their destiny into their own hands. They weren't waiting for permission anymore. They were taking action.
And then, boom, the storming of the Bastille just a few weeks later. I mean, that's got to be one of the most iconic images of the whole revolution.
The Bastille was the symbol of royal power, oppression. And the people, they just tore it down brick by brick.
The sources, they describe ordinary people grabbing whatever they could find, tools, whatever, and just going at it.
Yeah, it wasn't just about releasing prisoners or finding weapons. It was about destroying a symbol of everything they hated about the old system.
So the revolution is in full swing now. Did France become a democracy, overnight?
Well, not quite. At first, they tried to set up a constitutional monarchy, kind of like England, with the king, but also with a parliament. They even wrote up the Declaration of the Rights of Man and the Citizen.
The declaration that's all about liberty, equality, fraternity, right? Sounds like they were trying to build something better. Did things calm down after that?
Not really. I mean, you got to remember, things were still super chaotic. There was fear of foreign invasion, counter-revolutionaries within France. The economy was a mess.
So even with these big changes, the revolution was far from over.
Right, and that's when things took a darker turn. The revolution got more radical, and a new figure comes to the forefront, Maximilien Robespierre.
Robespierre, the Reign of Terror, right? Those sources paint a pretty grim picture of that time.
Yeah, Robespierre and the Committee of Public Safety, they were tasked with protecting the revolution, but they ended up creating the system of tribunals that led to thousands of executions.
It's kind of hard to wrap your head around that. A revolution that started with all these noble ideals descending into such bloodshed.
It's a really complex period. Historians are still debating Robespierre and the Terror. Was it a necessary evil to protect the revolution, or did it just betray everything the revolution stood for?
Tough question. It makes you think about the cost of revolution, the unintended consequences. But we'll have to save that conversation for later. So last we left off, France was in the thick of it, the Reign of Terror. I mean, could you imagine the fear, the suspicion everywhere? How did people even live through that?
Well, I think with a lot of revolutions, eventually things swing back, the pendulum,
Right.
People crave stability. And Robespierre, he took things pretty far.
Yeah, he was ruthless.
He was, and in the end, that ruthlessness, it came back to bite him,
It's like he created this monster, and then the monster turned on him.
Exactly. He went from being the hero, the savior of the revolution, to being seen as a tyrant himself. And once that shift happened, it was over for him.
So he gets arrested, executed. And that's the end of the terror, right? The Thermidorian reaction, if I remember correctly.
That's right. The Thermidorians, they were the ones who brought Robespierre down, and they wanted to undo a lot of what he'd done. They shut down the tribunals, they released a bunch of political prisoners.
So it's like France was trying to hit the reset button, get back to some sense of normalcy.
Yeah, exactly. There was this move towards moderation, away from the extreme radicalism of the terror. They wanted to create a republic that could actually last, a republic that wasn't built on fear and violence.
And that's where the Directory comes in, right? So tell me about that. How did that government work?
Well, the whole point of the Directory was to make sure that no one person could have too much power, like what happened with Robespierre.
Makes sense.
So they had this 5-man executive body, like a committee almost, with all these checks and balances built in to keep things in check.
So it was like they were trying to learn from their mistakes, prevent another dictator from taking over. Did it work? I mean, did the Directory actually bring peace and stability to France?
Unfortunately, not really. You said they had a good intention, but France was still facing huge problems. The economy was a disaster, there was corruption in the government, and they were fighting wars on every front.
Sounds exhausting.
It was. The Directory, they just couldn't deliver on their promises, and people started to lose faith.
So the revolution, it didn't really fix everything it set out to fix?
Not completely, no. And in a way, that paved the way for Napoleon. The Directory became so reliant on the military, and, well, Napoleon was a brilliant military leader.
So from revolution to emperor, it's kind of ironic, right?
It is. It shows you how unpredictable history can be. Revolutions, even ones that start with the best intentions, they can have unintended consequences.
That's a good takeaway. We've covered a lot of ground today. The French Revolution, it wasn't just a list of dates and names. It was this complex, messy, fascinating process.
It was. And it's still relevant. The ideas, the struggles, they still resonate today.
That's true. Well, I want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive. And for our listeners, keep exploring, keep learning. History, it's not just about the past. It's about understanding ourselves and our world better.
The radical phase of the French Revolution brought about significant changes, some logical and enlightened, others excessive. These included political, social, religious, economic, and military changes. This governmental shift, the monarchy was eliminated and replaced with a republic, theoretically expanding the vote to all men. However, the Committee of Public Safety, a group of 12, quickly seized control, centralizing power and ultimately leading to a dictatorial situation under Maximilien Robespierre. At dechristianization, an attempt was made to remove Christianity from society. Churches were turned into temples of reason, and the calendar was remade, with the years starting from the beginning of the Republic. The traditional 7-day week was replaced with a 10-day week. Military expansion. France recruited a massive army of 1 million men, fostering a sense of patriotism and fighting for their own freedom rather than for a monarch. Economic control. The government controlled the economy, dictating what factories produced and setting prices and wages. This contrasted sharply with Adam Smith's ideas of free markets and limited government intervention. Asterisk social paranoia and violence. Asterisk a climate of paranoia led to mass executions of those deemed insufficiently revolutionary, with children encouraged to turn in their parents and friends encouraged to turn in their friends. Former clergy and nobles were targeted. These changes demonstrate the radical phase's move towards a more extreme and, in some ways, more oppressive society. Diplomatic Revolution, 1756, common fear of Prussia drew Austria and France together. Treaty of Paris, 1763, Prussia can keep Austrian land. Louis XVI calling the Estates General, 1789, because he was facing bankruptcy. Restarted time, 1792 was when radical phase begun. The alliances in the War of the Austrian Succession and the 7 Years' War shifted dramatically. War of the Austrian Succession, 1740 to 1748, asterisk asterisk. Asterisk France and Prussia versus asterisk Britain and Austria. 7 Years' War, 1756 to 1763, asterisk asterisk. Asterisk France, Austria, and Russia versus asterisk Prussia and Britain. The asterisk diplomatic revolution of 1756 asterisk asterisk caused this shift, with France and Austria realizing that Prussia was a bigger problem than their traditional rivalry. This led them to form an alliance against Prussia. Britain's primary goal in the 7 Years' War was to fight France for territory in North America. The British ultimately won this conflict, gaining France's North American colonies. Joseph II's tombstone is considered sad because it reflects his asterisk lack of success asterisk in achieving his goals as an enlightened absolutist. Despite his efforts to implement numerous reforms based on Enlightenment ideals, he ultimately asterisk failed to create lasting change asterisk in Austrian society. Here's why Joseph II felt he had failed. Asterisk resistance to his reforms. Asterisk asterisk Joseph II faced resistance from both the nobles and the peasants, who were either unwilling to give up their privileges or unsure how to adapt to the new changes. Asterisk equality for all. Asterisk asterisk he tried to establish equality by ending nobility and peasant status, but this was met with resistance. Asterisk enlightened absolutism. Asterisk asterisk Joseph II attempted to bring Enlightenment ideas, such as equality, religious tolerance, and capitalism to Austria. Asterisk opposition to the death penalty. Asterisk asterisk Joseph II had a modern idea and was against the death penalty. Asterisk religious tolerance. Asterisk asterisk Joseph II embraced religious tolerance like Voltaire. Asterisk embracing capitalism. Asterisk asterisk Joseph II embraced the idea of capitalism, ending tariffs and trying to break apart guilds to create a society of free trade. His epitaph, asterisk here lies Joseph II, who failed at everything he undertook asterisk, encapsulates his disappointment and acknowledges his lack of success in transforming Austrian society according to his vision. He even wrote that about himself. In 1789, on the eve of the revolution, France faced a multitude of problems. These issues spanned economic, social, and political spheres, creating a volatile environment. Economic problems. Asterisk asterisk bankruptcy. Asterisk asterisk France was dealing with bankruptcy. King Louis XVI called the Estates General in 1789 to address the imminent financial failure of the country. Asterisk poor harvests. Asterisk asterisk poor harvests in 1788 and 1789 led to food shortages and high prices, particularly for bread, the predominant food of the people. The heavy rains ruined the crops. Asterisk tax burden. Asterisk asterisk the bourgeoisie paid most of the taxes, while the privileged first and second estates, clergy and nobility, were exempt. Asterisk land ownership. Asterisk asterisk land ownership was concentrated in the hands of a small percentage of the population, with the bourgeoisie owning only 30% of the land. Social problems. Asterisk asterisk Enlightenment ideas. Asterisk asterisk the bourgeoisie were influenced by Enlightenment ideas, which clashed with the existing social and political structures. They began to question the fairness of a society where people were not born equal and lacked natural rights. Asterisk estate system. Asterisk asterisk French society was divided into 3 estates. The first estate, clergy, and second estate, nobility, enjoyed privileges. The Third Estate, comprising 97% of the population, including the bourgeoisie *, peasants, and artisans, bore the burden of taxation and had limited rights. Unfair privileges. The clergy, constituting about 1% of the population, possessed 10% of the land and were exempt from taxes, which stirred resentment. Resentment toward the royal couple. Dissatisfaction with King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette added to the problems. Marie Antoinette, being from Austria, was viewed as an outsider. Political problems. Absolute monarchy. France was governed by an absolute monarchy, with Louis XVI holding unchecked power. Lack of representation. The Estates General, which had the potential to limit the monarch's power, had not met since 1614, indicating the extent of the monarchy's unchecked authority. Confusion over Estates General. There was confusion over how the Estates General even worked, because it had been so long since it had been called. The Enlightenment thinkers Locke, Montesquieu, Voltaire, and Smith had major impacts during the Enlightenment era. Their core beliefs are as follows. John Locke believed that all individuals are born with natural rights including the rights to life, liberty, and property. According to Locke, governments exist to protect these rights, and should the government fail to do so, the people have the right to replace it. Locke's ideas influenced the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen with its emphasis on liberty, equality, and fraternity. Baron Montesquieu advocated for the separation of powers in government to limit greed. Montesquieu argued that governments should be structured with checks and balances to prevent any one person or group from abusing power. Voltaire was suspicious of organized religion and emphasized the need for religious tolerance. According to Voltaire, the power of churches is problematic, and societies should be tolerant of different religious beliefs to avoid conflict. Adam Smith considered the father of modern capitalism. Smith believed that individuals have inherent economic thinking abilities and should be free to make their own economic decisions without government intervention. He advocated for limiting the government's role in the economy promoting free trade and opposing tariffs. Smith's ideas contrasted with mercantilism and influenced economic policies during the Enlightenment and beyond. Neoclassical art shared some similarities with Renaissance art but stood in contrast to Baroque art. Similarities between neoclassical and Renaissance art. Attention to detail. Both styles showed great care in depicting the human form. Use of shading. Neoclassical art employed shading techniques and the creation of perspective, similar to the Renaissance. Classical inspiration. Neoclassical art focused on Greece and Rome, similar to the Renaissance. Differences between neoclassical and Baroque art. Rejection of emotion. Neoclassical art rejected emotion, unlike the Baroque style. Emphasis on morality. Neoclassical art emphasized moral or patriotic lessons. Focus. Baroque art had religious themes whereas neoclassical art was about loyalty to the state, service, and sacrifice. Subject matter. Neoclassical art focused on civic virtues rather than religious virtues and dedication to God. Maximilien Robespierre's rise and fall were central to the radical phase of the French Revolution. Rise. Advocate for revolution. Robespierre became a key figure in the French Revolution, embodying its most radical ideas. Committee of Public Safety. As a leading member of the Committee of Public Safety, Robespierre made important decisions for the group during a time of emergency. The Committee of Public Safety was a 12-person group ruling France. Enforcement of revolutionary ideas. He was seen as the revolution's spokesperson, advocating for and embodying its ideals. He was thought of as being unquestioned. Climate of paranoia. During the radical phase, there was a climate of paranoia. To be revolutionary enough, citizens had to conform to the ideas of Robespierre or they could be killed. Fall. Extreme measures. The revolution, under Robespierre's influence, took a violent turn, with mass executions of those deemed insufficiently revolutionary. Loss of support. People began to question whether such radical measures were still necessary, especially as France started winning the war against its attackers. Opposition. Robespierre showed no reluctance to send former allies and friends to the guillotine. Dozens of associates who hinted that the revolution had gone too far ended up dead. Overthrow. A coalition of delegates, feeling they could no longer voice their opinions, united to silence Robespierre. They shouted him down, prevented him from speaking, and eventually arrested him. Death. After being arrested, Robespierre attempted to commit suicide but failed. He was eventually executed by guillotine, marking the end of the radical phase. Robespierre's death marked the end of the radical phase and a shift towards the reactionary phase of the French Revolution. Deism is the belief in a disinterested creator. Deists believe that God created the complex world and then walked away from it. The symbol of deism is a clock which runs forever and is very complex, but has no interest in the user. Thomas Jefferson was a famous deist who wrote a deist Bible, which was the same as the regular Bible, but without miracles. Key aspects of deism include a creator made the world but does not intervene in its affairs. God is not listening to prayers. There is no heaven. When you die, it fades to black. God isn't concerned with individual religions. There's no reward for being nice to people from God, but people should be nice to each other so the world works better. A deist believes something created the universe because it could not have happened organically. Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette became a couple through an arranged marriage for political purposes. Here's why they were both disliked. Louis XVI, indecisive and lacking charisma. Louis XVI was seen as indecisive, reclusive, and not particularly smart. In a time of crisis, his bland personality was not what France needed. Inability to make quick decisions. Louis was not known for quick or decisive decision-making. Disconnect from the people. Since the 1640s, French monarchs, including Louis XVI, had lived away from the people, fostering a sense of disconnect. Failed to prevent the revolution. Louis XVI failed to recognize the Third Estate as the government of France and also did not order troops to kill the members of the Third Estate at the tennis court oath, signaling his indecisiveness. Lockmaking. Louis XVI enjoyed spending hours making locks and keys alone in his study. Marie Antoinette. Austrian origin. As an Austrian, Marie Antoinette was viewed as an outsider. The people were not going to view her as one of them. Perceived purposeful strained relationship. The French people thought their relationship was strained and that she was to blame for not engaging with the king in order to have children. Different personalities. Marie Antoinette was outgoing and charismatic, which contrasted with Louis XVI's reclusive nature. Failure to produce an heir. For almost a decade, Marie Antoinette did not produce a male heir, contributing to her unpopularity. Hoarding food. It was rumored that Marie Antoinette was hoarding food in barns. Several significant events occurred early in the French Revolution. These events include the tennis court oath, the storming of the Bastille, the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen, and the Women's March. Tennis court oath. In 1789, members of the Third Estate, locked out of the estate's general meeting, gathered at a tennis court and pledged to write a new constitution. This was a mental moment of revolution where members of the Third Estate pledged to create their own government. The Third Estate asserted natural rights and self-government. This event is seen as embodying Enlightenment ideas. By taking this oath, The members of the Third Estate were committing treason and could be killed for it. Asterisk storming of the Bastille. Asterisk. Asterisk on July 14, 1789, Parisians stormed the Bastille, a former fortress and prison that was then being used as an armory. Asterisk 98 civilians died storming the Bastille. The Bastille was stormed by Parisians looking to arm themselves. The event caused peasant uprisings in the countryside as word of the revolution spread. The storming of the Bastille was a moment of pure violence and vengeance, not enlightenment. The people of Paris tore down the Bastille brick by brick. Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen. In August 1789, the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen was created, abolishing class distinctions based on birth and eliminating nobility and serfdom. The Declaration asserted that all men are born and remain free and equal in rights. These rights were to liberty, property, security, and resistance to oppression. This declaration is very much in line with John Locke's ideas. The Declaration was influenced by Thomas Jefferson and the American Declaration. With the Declaration, everyone was now considered a citizen. Women's March. In October 1789, women marched on Versailles looking for food. The women brought the royal family into Paris, forcing Louis XVI to acknowledge the revolution. The Women's March was motivated by hunger. About 20,000 women marched about 15 miles out to Versailles to look for food. The women grabbed the royal family and marched them into Paris. The Women's March is not considered an enlightened event.